I saw it during our fourth session. Dr. Linda Hartwell's license was hanging on the wall behind her desk, and the afternoon light hit it just right, making the gold frame catch my eye. I was mid-sentence, talking about my anxiety, when my brain registered something that made every word die in my throat. The license had a name on it, not hers, mine, my old one. The one I'd buried 6 years ago along with everything else from that life. Emma, you were saying? Dr. Hartwell smiled at me, pen poised over her notepad, completely calm, like she hadn't just shattered my entire world. My maiden name was Reynolds, Emma Reynolds. I'd been Emma Carter for 6 years now, ever since I changed it legally, ever since I ran, ever since I escaped from Michael and everything he'd done to me. Nobody knew that name anymore. Nobody except the court that sealed the records and the 2 people who helped me disappear. But there it was. On her license, Dr. Linda Hartwell, licensed marriage and family therapist, specializing in trauma and domestic situations. And underneath, in smaller text, formerly practicing under Dr. Linda Reynolds. Reynolds, my maiden name, the name Michael would have known me by when we first met, the name I'd erased. I need to use the restroom, I said, my voice sounding like it belonged to someone else. Of course. She gestured toward the door. Take your time. I walked out of her office on legs that didn't feel attached to my body. Instead of going to the bathroom, I went straight to the building lobby, pushed through the glass doors, and didn't stop until I was in my car with the doors locked and my hands shaking so violently I couldn't get the key in the ignition. This was supposed to be safe. Therapy was supposed to be the one place I could finally talk about what happened, about the years with Michael, about the fear that still woke me up at 3 in the morning. I'd found Dr. Hartwell through my insurance website, random, anonymous. I'd given her my current name, Emma Carter. I'd been so careful, but she'd known. She'd known all along. I drove home in a daze, ran 3 red lights and barely remembered parking. My apartment, my safe, carefully chosen 3rd-floor apartment with the deadbolts and the security system, suddenly felt exposed, vulnerable, like Michael could walk through the door any second. Michael, my ex-husband. The man I'd loved once before love turned into control, before control turned into isolation, before isolation turned into something darker. The man who'd put me in the hospital twice and convinced everyone I was clumsy. The man who'd told me if I ever left, he'd find me. He'd always find me. I'd left anyway. With help from a domestic violence organization, I'd disappeared. New city, new name, new life. 6 years of looking over my shoulder, jumping at shadows, but also 6 years of freedom. 6 years of healing, or so I thought. I sat on my couch with my laptop, hands still shaking, and started searching. Dr. Linda Hartwell, Portland, Oregon, licensed 2019. Before that, nothing. No history, no previous practice, no online presence before 5 years ago. But Dr. Linda Reynolds? That search lit up my screen like a Christmas tree. Dr. Linda Reynolds, licensed in Chicago, practicing from 2008 to 2019, specializing in couples therapy, closed her practice abruptly. No explanation, no forwarding information, just gone. Chicago, where I used to live, where Michael still lived as far as I knew. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You left your scarf in my office. I'll hold it for our next session. I didn't own a scarf. I hadn't left anything. But the message was a signal. She knew I'd figured it out. She knew I'd run. I blocked the number, but 2 minutes later, another text came through. Different number. We need to talk, Emma, not about therapy, about why I'm really here. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe. This was it. This was how Michael found me. Through her. Through therapy. Through the one thing I'd thought was safe. I grabbed my phone to call the police, but stopped. And tell them what? That my therapist's license had my maiden name? That she'd sent me cryptic texts? They'd think I was paranoid. Maybe I was paranoid. Or maybe I was right. Another text. Your husband hired me 6 years ago to find you. But Emma, you need to know something. I'm not working for him anymore. My whole body went cold. 6 years. She'd been looking for me for 6 years. And now she'd found me, gotten close to me, made me trust her. The phone rang. Same unknown number. My hand hovered over it, every instinct screaming not to answer. But I needed to know. I needed to understand. I answered, "What do you want?" Her voice was calm, measured, exactly like it had been in every session. "I want to help you, Emma. I know you don't believe me, but you're in danger, more danger than you realize. You worked for him. You've been lying to me for weeks." I did work for him, past tense. When I found you 3 months ago, I realized something. Michael isn't just looking for you, Emma. He's planning something, and you need to know what it is before it's too late. I'm calling the police. I'm reporting you. He has someone else, a private investigator, someone who doesn't have a conscience like I apparently grew. They're close, Emma. Very close. And when they find you, Michael won't just want you back. He wants to make sure you can't leave again, ever. The room spun. You're lying. You're trying to scare me, so I'll check your email, the one you used to register for therapy. I sent you proof, photos, documents, everything I gathered while I was working for him, everything you need to protect yourself. I broke about 17 laws sending you that, so I hope you at least look at it before you decide I'm the enemy. She hung up. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to dead silence. Then, slowly, I opened my laptop and checked my email. There it was, from an anonymous sender. Subject line, "I'm sorry." I clicked it. The first attachment was a photo of Michael, recent, standing outside a building I didn't recognize, talking to a man in a dark jacket. The second was a document, a contract between Michael Carter and Reynolds Investigation Services. Date, 6 years and 2 months ago. Payment, $50,000. Objective, locate Emma Reynolds Carter. The third attachment made my blood run cold. It was a floor plan of my apartment building with my unit circled in red, and a handwritten note in Michael's handwriting. Found her. Moving to phase 2. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch with every light on, my phone in one hand and a kitchen knife in the other, watching the door like Michael might kick it in any second. Every sound in the hallway made my heart stop. Every car alarm, every footstep, every creak of the building settling sent adrenaline flooding through my veins. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Dr. Hartwell, Linda, whatever her real name was. "I'm outside. We need to talk face to face." "Please." I looked through the peephole. She was standing in the hallway, alone, no coat even though it was October and freezing. She looked scared, actually scared. Against every survival instinct I had, I opened the door, kept the chain on. "You have 2 minutes. Michael's investigator is named Derek Moss. Former cop, fired for excessive force, now works private security and dirty jobs. Michael paid him $20,000 2 weeks ago to finish what I couldn't." "Which is what?" She met my eyes, and I saw something there I hadn't seen in our sessions. Genuine fear. "To make it look like an accident. He's been planning this for months, Emma. He doesn't want you back. He wants you gone. Because you're the only person who knows what he really is. And he's built a whole new life with a new wife and a reputation he can't afford to lose." My knees almost buckled. "You're saying he wants me dead?" "I'm saying he hired someone to make sure you are. And Derek doesn't fail." I let her in. We sat at my kitchen table and she laid it all out. She'd been a therapist in Chicago, struggling with debt, when Michael approached her 6 years ago. He'd told her his wife had run away, that she was mentally unstable, that he was worried about her safety. He'd offered her $50,000 to find me and report back my location. Just my location. Nothing more. She'd taken the job. She'd used her credentials and connections to track me through medical records, therapy referrals, insurance databases. It had taken her 6 years, but she'd finally found me 3 months ago in Portland. When I called him to report that I'd found you, something in his voice changed. He asked me detailed questions. Where you lived, what floor, if you lived alone, your routine. And then he said, "Good. I can finally close this chapter." The way he said it, Emma, I knew it wasn't about getting you back. "So you what? Suddenly grew a conscience?" She flinched. I started digging. I found court records from your marriage, hospital records, police reports you'd filed and then withdrawn. I found his new wife's Instagram, and she has bruises she tries to hide. I realized I hadn't been helping a desperate husband find his sick wife. I'd been helping a monster hunt his prey. So you decided to warn me by becoming my therapist? By lying to me for weeks? I needed to get close enough to protect you, to understand your life now so I could help you disappear again. But also, she swallowed hard, I needed to understand who you were, to make sure my guilt wasn't making me see things that weren't there. But you're not crazy, Emma. You're a survivor, and you deserve better than to be hunted by him and the person he hired to finish the job. I wanted to hate her. Part of me did, but another part understood desperation, understood making terrible choices when you're drowning. What do I do? My voice cracked. I can't run again. I've built a life here. I have a job, friends, a home. I can't just disappear every time he gets close. You don't have to. She pulled out a folder I hadn't noticed she'd brought. I've been building a case. Everything Michael did to you, everything he's doing now, the money trail to Derek Moss, the contract, the threats. I've documented all of it. And I have a friend, a real friend, someone I trust, who works for the FBI in their domestic violence division. The FBI? Michael's crossed state lines multiple times to stalk you. He's hired someone to harm you. That's federal. And with everything I've gathered, we can bury him. But Emma, you have to be willing to face him, to testify, to stop running and start fighting. I stared at the folder. 6 years I'd been running. 6 years of fear. 6 years of looking over my shoulder. And here was a chance to stop, to end it, to make sure Michael never hurt me or anyone else again. But it meant going to war with a man who'd nearly destroyed me once already. If I do this, I said slowly, and it doesn't work, he'll make ending me his life's mission. If you don't do this, Derek Moss will do it for him within the week. Linda's voice was steady. I'm offering you a fighting chance. That's more than you had yesterday. The next 72 hours were a blur. Linda introduced me to her contact at the FBI. I told my story, all of it, for the first time without shame, without minimizing, without protecting Michael's image. They listened. They believed me. They opened an investigation. Derek Moss was arrested trying to break into my apartment building. They found detailed plans, Michael's payments, everything. Michael was arrested 3 days later in Chicago, charged with stalking, conspiracy, solicitation of violence. His new wife filed for divorce and a restraining order the same day. His perfect life crumbled on live news. Linda lost her license for what she'd done. The ethical violations, the lies, the manipulation. She didn't fight it. She told me she deserved it. That maybe she'd find another way to help people. A way that didn't require compromising everything she was supposed to stand for. I testified. Stood in front of Michael for the first time in 6 years and spoke my truth. He stared at me with those eyes that used to make me feel small. But this time I stared back. This time I wasn't afraid. He got 12 years. Derek got 8. And I got my life back. I still live in Portland, still Emma Carter, but now I don't jump at shadows. I don't check over my shoulder every time I leave my apartment. I started a support group for other survivors, and I share my story so they know they're not alone. Linda sends me emails sometimes, updates on her life, apologies she doesn't need to keep making. I forgave her. Not because what she did was right, but because sometimes the people who betray us are also the ones who save us. Sometimes redemption is messy and complicated and doesn't fit into neat categories of good and evil. Sometimes your worst nightmare leads you to your greatest strength. I don't see therapists anymore. I don't need to. I lived through my worst fear and came out the other side not broken but forged. Michael tried to end my story. Instead, he just gave me a better beginning. And that's the part he'll never understand. That the woman he tried to destroy is the one who destroyed him instead. Sometimes survival isn't just about escaping. Sometimes it's about turning around and fighting back.